Our World. Stories that speak for themselves. Saturday and Sunday nights at 9:30 on the BBC News Channel.
Sometimes being in the driving seat is... She stayed in school. Sure. Didn't just play sport. This is... the simple act of standing, and you're a... You don't need superpowers to change the world. 100 Women. A season of inspiring and challenging stories across the BBC.
Tonight at 10, we're in Downing Street, where Theresa May has pledged to fight on with her widely criticised plans for leaving the European Union. The Prime Minister, facing a possible leadership challenge, sought to convince critics that her Brexit plan is the best one on offer.
I believe with every fibre of my being that the course I have set out is the right one for our country and all our people.
Earlier, Dominic Raab became the second Brexit secretary to resign from the cabinet, saying he could not support the Prime Minister's approach.
I think she needs a Brexit secretary that will pursue the deal that she wants to put to the country with conviction. I don't feel I can do that in good conscience, but I respect her, I hold her in high esteem. I think she should continue, but I do think we need to change course on Brexit.
And piling on the pressure, the leading Brexit supporter, Jacob Rees-Mogg, who's written a letter of no confidence in the Prime Minister.
What we have voted for should be implemented, and the Prime Minister is not doing that, and that is why I have no confidence.
And we'll be in Newcastle, asking voters for their perspective on the Brexit story so far. We'll have all the latest developments and reaction on a rather turbulent day here at Westminster. Also tonight, in California, officials say the town destroyed by wildfire will need a total rebuild that'll take several years. And Wayne Rooney at Wembley for his final appearance for England.
And in sport, the second test between England and Sri Lanka is finally poised after day 2. England trail by just 46 runs after the first innings in Kandy.
Good evening from Downing Street. After a day of Brexit turbulence for the government, when the Prime Minister set out to answer her many critics inside the Conservative Party, she insisted she was determined to carry on, promoting her widely criticised plan to take Britain out of the European Union. 2 cabinet ministers are among those who have resigned from the government today. It all started at 9 o'clock this morning, when Dominic Raab became the second Brexit secretary to leave that job, saying there were fatal flaws in Mrs May's plans. His departure was followed by the Work and Pension Secretary, Esther McVey, who also said she could not support the draft withdrawal agreement. A number of junior... Let's have a final word with Laura after this rather eventful day. We spoke earlier about the cabinet, Laura. We spoke about backbenchers. Well, let's talk about the Prime Minister herself. Where does she stand tonight?
Well, I think the biggest problem for Theresa May was what we saw on display in the House of Commons, not about her own internal party wrangling. MP after MP after MP on all sides of the House stood up and hugely, intensely criticised the deal that she spent more than 2 years trying to broker with the European Union. That deal that will shape the history of this country. I know that sounds overdramatic, but that is what this is about. And Theresa May right now just can't be sure whether she would be able to get that through Parliament, even if she gets through the next few days. And if she can't get it through Parliament, there are questions about whether Brexit would happen at all, and certainly questions about whether or not she would be able to stay in charge. So tonight, she is lonely, she is still there, but she's certainly not in complete control.
Laura, once again, thanks very much. Laura Kingsburg, our political editor there, with some final thoughts here in Downing Street, because that's all from us now. Newsnight is on BBC Two, of course. Here on BBC One, it is time for the news where you are. Have a good night.
Good evening, I'm Huw Edwards with a look at the latest sport here on BBC News. And England's record goal scorer Wayne Rooney was given a fond farewell at Wembley as he earned his 120th international cap in their 3-0 friendly win over the United